Hey, everybody, welcome to Secure the Seat Live, where we hang out on Mondays. You get to have lunch with us. My name is Minda Hartz, and I'm so happy that you're here. Shout out to the people who watch on LinkedIn Live on Mondays at noon and those who pop up on YouTube. We appreciate you. I'm excited to introduce you to my good friend, Kailei Carr, the founder and CEO of the Asbury Group. Kailei, welcome to Secure the Seat Live. How are you?
I am great and excited to be here, Minda.
Always good to see your face, and shout out to your state, Georgia. Just,
Yes, we finally came through with something.
you brought the goods. We're forever grateful. So thank you. If you have any questions during the course of our conversation, if it's your first time here, we welcome you. If you rock with us each Monday, welcome back. So make sure you have your questions. We're going to talk about leadership today as it pertains to, all aspects of leadership, but Black women, women of color, we really want to hone in on that. So the first question that I want to ask you is, tell everybody a little bit about you in case they're not familiar with your work.
Sure. So, as Minda mentioned, I lead an organization called the Asbury Group, and we're a transformational leadership development firm that focuses on leadership and leadership development for women of color. And I would say the majority of the clients we have are women. The majority of them are women of color, and the majority of them are Black women. So we even work with white men too. And we basically work with leaders from around the globe on everything from executive coaching to leadership development programs to workshops, speaking engagements, as well as experiences and retreats where we really help to develop people and leaders from the inside out.
I love it. I love it. And I, participated in some of your programming. And so please take a look at it. We're going to talk more about that. But let's start with something that I think is so important, and that's qualities. In your opinion, what are some of the qualities or characteristics that some people don't develop as leaders?
There's so many. So many. One that I will say is self-awareness. And what we know to be true, particularly when it comes to women of color, is that when we work for managers who do not look like us, we tend not to get feedback. So as we are rising in our careers, we are not receiving the feedback that we need in order to thrive. So that impacts our ability to really understand how we're showing up and having that self-awareness. Not to mention, as we continue to rise, regardless of who you are, the higher you go, the less likely people are going to tell you the truth. So I think self-awareness is a really big piece of it. Another quality is the focus on mindfulness and mindset practices. So as you know, many of us are type A, and as leaders, in order to be a leader and to be a successful leader, especially one who is leading at a senior rank, we're more likely to be type A and to work really hard. But if we don't also understand the importance of self-care practices, mindset practices, mindfulness practices as part of our daily routines, at some point in time, we're going to burn out.
Yep.
So I think that's something that is undervalued quite a bit.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that, because all of like you said, there's a lot of things, but to touch in on those are very important. And I see people in the chat saying, yes, self-awareness is key and critical. Definitely. The one thing I'm really excited about in some of the work that you're doing is a new leadership academy for women, Beyond Women's Leadership Academy. Tell us why you started that. What is it, and who should run to participate?
Yes. So the Beyond Leadership Academy is a women's leadership academy. And it was really important for me to have at least this first cohort focused on Black women. What we know to be true about Black women is that we are not represented in the senior ranks. I mean, 1.6% of Black women hold VP positions, 1.4% hold C-suite positions. And there are currently at least in the US, there are zero Fortune 500 companies who are led by Black women in the CEO position. And what I have experienced in my life is that Black women are resilient, they are brilliant, they are driven. And also, if you look at the statistics, Black women and white men have the same ambition level. When you look at, how ambitious they are as a group, white men and Black women have the highest levels of ambition, but yet we're not represented. So it was really important for me to have a program that was focused on the unique needs of Black women, because there are unique needs. So there are a lot of gaps that exist. There's internal and external. But before I get to that, I'll just share that the program itself is a 6-month program. It launches in January. Applications are open now, and we're really looking at high achieving, but also high potential Black women, primarily in corporate roles, although we have applications from women in nonprofit and law and education and professional organizations. But really, this is an immersive program to help them develop what they need to be in senior leadership, not only on the internal with things like what I talked about, self-care practices, self-awareness, understanding, being rooted in their authenticity and understanding who they are and what they're about. Because, oh, by the way, many of us lose ourselves when we're in environments with people who don't look like us or we feel othered. So really helping them regain that sense of self, but also externally working with their organizations to identify champions, identify sponsors who can help them as they rise. They also get executive coaching as well as mentorship. And what we've found with Black women is that when we rise, we not only rise for ourselves, but we want to give back to our community. So we've even incorporated a project where they'll be able to impact and influence women who are young, earlier in their career, to help them rise as well. So that's the program in a nutshell. And what has been crazy, and I was just sharing this with Minda before we started, is that although I thought this was going to be primarily for Black women in the US, we have applications from Black women in 4 countries on 3 continents. So obviously this content is really resonating even beyond our shores.
That's awesome. And where can people find out more about how to sign up, or maybe share it with their company who might also be able to add this to their professional development? Will you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. They can go to groupasbury.com, GROUPASBURY/beyond-leadership, or they can just go to groupasbury.com, and on the top navigation, you can see a tab that says Beyond Leadership. All the information is there, as well as the link to the application, which is open until November 29th.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is get on it, get to
Get
it.
on it. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's take a couple questions, and if you have questions, please pop them in the chat as you are. But how do you define high potential? High potential based on organization's potential opinion or yours?
Well, that's a great question. I'm finding that for organizations that we're working directly with to identify people for the program. So, for instance, I go to organization A and they say, we're really excited about this program. We're going to identify 3 high potential Black women to put in that program. That would be the organization. But I also have received, or we also have received, applications from women who are like, you know what? Either my company is not nurturing me in a way that's aligned with my ambition. So I'm going to invest in myself and go through this program. Or there are others who said, you know what? I'm going to apply, and then I'm going to work the channels internally to make sure that I get the support that I need from my organization. So I would say both. And if you believe that you need to be in this program, then I will do all I can to support you in that, to ensure that you get what you need to be in it.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, too, as you said, sometimes our companies or organizations may not be invested in our success, and they may not see that we are high potential, right? Because we haven't had a chance to flex that or an opportunity. So if you see yourself that way, or you see your future self that way, this is definitely a good time for you to check that out and apply. And, you know, take a look at it. Give yourself, take that first step. Don't say that's not me, or I'm not going to be able to have, you know, the resources. Check it out and take that first step. I would encourage that. The other question someone has is, what if they're in transition? Would a program like the Academy be something that they should consider looking into?
Probably. Well, I would say it depends on what they are in transition from and to, and what their aspirations and goals are. If they believe, or if a part of their aspirations is to be in senior leadership, and even though they are in transition, they actually might have more time to do it. I know that there have been programs that I have run in the past where there have been people in transition who have said, this is a great time for me to take that pause and really pour into myself so that I am best positioned for that next position. And because of the quality of this cohort, there will likely be really great opportunities that they'll be exposed to that they wouldn't otherwise.
I love that. And we'll take another question from the audience. Someone said, what do you think about leadership in terms of being an individual contributor versus leading a group of people? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, I believe that we all can be leaders regardless of if we are actually, if we have a team or not. And I also believe that leadership starts with ourselves and really having ownership over who we are, how we show up. So although this program is really for people who see themselves in the future as one who would be leading an organization, so they would not necessarily be an individual contributor if they're, for instance, in the C-suite. At the same time, I think it's really important for individual contributors to not skimp on the professional development or even the leadership development, because there's so much that you can do to expand in your development personally and professionally, even if you don't have a team underneath you.
Great answer. And like you said, leadership starts with us. Right? So that's
Exactly.
great. I'm going to jump back into my questions. And
Mhm.
we know that corporate America, nonprofits, many industries are getting some things wrong these days. What are they getting wrong? But where do you see the openings and opportunities for advancing women of color and Black women in the workplace?
Oh, yes. There are a lot of opportunities. I think, three things that come to mind are: one, that oftentimes organizations try to look at other things and not look at themselves. So just like leadership starts with yourself, these challenges that we're talking about starts with analyzing and dismantling the cultures and structures that are preventing Black women and women of color to rise. If you are an organization whose customer base is diverse, but yet your leadership team is all white, then there is a problem. And it's not, and which brings me to number two, which oftentimes organizations say, well, it's a pipeline problem.
Mhm.
And I don't believe that to be true. And yes, there are certain industries that do have actual pipeline slash numbers challenges, like technology. Yet and still, lead a program that is for women of color in technology, that we have had over 100 women, primarily 95% of them have been Black women, and they're exceptional. So I don't want to hear there's a pipeline problem. I think organizations can be more intentional in how they attract the talent. And then third, general leadership programs, general leadership approaches, general leadership development works only to a certain extent. What I hear most often from the women who I have worked with is, when there is a program that is tailored to them, they feel seen, and they also are able to develop exponentially more than a general program. So those are a few things that come to mind.
Yes, so there's so many openings and possibilities, and now we
Yes.
have the opportunity to act on those, right?
Right.
Let's not just be in words only, but in action. And thank you for sharing that. And this is a great opportunity after this broadcast. Share this with people in your company, right? Let them know
Yes.
what's going on
Yes.
and where the openings and opportunities are. As I'm about to ask my bonus questions, if you have any questions that you want Kailei to answer, please pop them in the chat as we're wrapping up our conversation. I hate this because we could be talking about this stuff all day, but
I know.
you know that I am a lover of grits and rap lyrics, and I have to ask
Mhm.
you, what is your favorite rap lyric and why?
Yes, and I was thinking about this, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I bet Minda's going to ask me," and I think the last time I was on Secure the Sea, I told you my favorite rap lyric, which is from Jay-Z, but I was thinking, and I'm like, "You know what? Another one which may take the number 1 spot over the one that I shared last time is from Lauryn Hill, which is, "How you gonna win when you ain't right within?"
Come again.
Come again? Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, mic drop it, and that's why, like you said at the top of the hour, why it's so important. One of the skills we need to develop is that mindset. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. And the other question that I have for you is, we have leaders that are watching right now. What is a tip that you would give them to make the workplace better than we found it?
Hmm. I think I'd go back to what I was talking about earlier, which is that leadership development starts with personal development and start with you and I think if we focus on making each of us as individuals the best us we can be, if I can be the best, highest version of me that I can be, as well as listening, leading with empathy, and really understanding our cultures would be in a much better place. We would actually have conscious cultures that are inclusive for all.
I love that. Snap snaps. You have so many people in the chat. Yes, yes. I can feel the snaps.
I love it.
The atmosphere. That's so great. We'll take a couple questions and then I'll let everybody go about their business for the day. But we have some really great questions. What are some tips that an employee can suggest when the company is interested in investing in the employees professionally?
Hmm. In yeah, I'm not quite sure in what regard, but if it's, you want the company to invest with them, do you think they mean like
Yeah,
invest in
I
themselves?
don't know, but I think maybe how to advocate for yourself for that investment, perhaps.
Yeah. So here's what I would suggest. One, I think that if there are certain programs that you want to investigate, that you want the company to invest in you, I would say present that to them, but not only say, hey, I want to be a part of this, but say, hey, I want to be a part of this. And as a result of me being a part of this is what I see, or this is how this is going to support where I want to go and how I want to contribute to this organization. Because at the end of the day, the organization wants to know what's in it for them.
Yeah.
So even though you're looking for yourself, and that's great, and we want you to do that, but also see how you can translate that to how the organization will benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And we have another question here. Can you speak to a time when support came from an unlikely source and how you capitalized on that moment?
Mm. I think oftentimes we expect our biggest advocates to come from our organizations, our internal organizations. And I have found mentors who I haven't even, called to their face mentors, but people who have advocated for me, brought me opportunities unbeknownst to me, who were outside of the organization. So I think that has happened. I can tell you many specific examples, but it's happened time and time again. And what I've learned from that is how important it is for us to develop relationships and be really intentional about doing that, because oftentimes many of us culturally were taught, you do your job, you keep your head down, you work really hard. But I mean, and Minda, you talk about this in the memo too. You can't expect to do great work and think that you're going to rise because of it. So as people leave your organization, go other places, or as you network outside of your organization, just building those relationships with people that you really connect with or want to get to know can yield so much.
Absolutely. And, I just want to say thank you for being one of those people for me. When we first met each other, I might not have known. I mean, I did know you were somebody I wanted to keep in my life, but continuously you have shown up for me. And I just want to say thank you publicly for, just always rooting for me. And I hope that all of you will continue to build those relationships with people that are for you, right? And get rid
And
of
likewise, Minda, I think the same of you. I really do. And I appreciate you.
And what's something that we haven't talked about? What's something that you want to leave them with as they're thinking about leadership and their own leadership and just kind of moving forward? Because I know even in quarantine, people might think of leadership a little bit differently, but
Yes.
it's very important.
One thing that came to mind to me last week, I think it was, and I think I may have even posted on social media about this, and that is the importance. Like, sometimes we didn't have mentors we needed as we were rising.
Mhm.
And just because we didn't have it doesn't mean that we can't be like that. We can't be what we needed to other people. So as you're focusing on yourself and your leadership development, your personal development, also think about what you can do to impact others. One thing that just really frustrates me is when I hear women saying that other women made it difficult for them, or women of color saying other women of color made it difficult, or other Black women made it difficult for them. I believe that with much opportunity, much is required. So let's make it easier for other people, and let's lift as we climb.
That is a whole word. Yes, yes. So thank you for sharing that. And Kailei, where can people find you again, hire you, support
Sure.
you, most importantly, apply for the academy? Where is that again?
Yes. So they can apply at the academy at groupasbury.com/beyond-leadership, or just go to groupasbury.com and it's on the top nav. They can also connect with me here on LinkedIn. They can connect with me. I'm at Kailei Carr on all the socials, and I have a lot of vowels, so you can see it here, but I'll say it also, KAILEICARR. And also I have a podcast called Beyond the Business Suit. So you can find me there, and we're on Instagram at Beyond the Business Suit too.
Yeah, so they can find you in all the internet streets, right?
Yes, all the internet streets.
I appreciate your time and your
Thank
talent and your
you.
brilliance. And I thank all of you for joining us for lunch again here on LinkedIn Live. I will see you next Wednesday at noon. Share this episode with someone. I'm sure it would be beneficial as they're heading into the week. Thank you, Kailei. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you so much, Minda. Thank you, everybody.